Sponsor an orphan, and you'll help support a vulnerable child to have the education they've always dreamed of, so they can build a brighter future. You'll be feeding a hungry stomach and a hungry mind with knowledge that will last them a lifetime. That's the power of an education. Sponsor an orphan now with Islamic Relief.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. This is Preacher Maz, the host, your host of the SOS to ShOUT show. Hope that you're having an amazing Tuesday. Today's topic, if you will, is generating cash with your conversation. I decided today to share a little bit, some tricks of the trade, if you will, some tools that help you garner not just revenue, but help you garner position, information when you're talking to people or when you're in transactional conversation with folks that you know, sometimes you don't know. A lot of people have asked me, as a comedian, what does that mean? Well, for my background in journalism, I started out understanding the power of words. When I say the power of words, it's not just the power of words, it's the emotive effect of how you organize words and how you present them to people. Then along the way, I began to understand that the power of words in conversation have even that much flow. Now, I was talking to a young man who was actually he was in Beaumont prison, and he was a young rapper, and he rapped for me, and I thought he did a tremendous job. But when we started talking about how he wanted to express himself to a young child, his son, he said he had really tongue twisted and things like that. And I said, what you ought to understand is that you are developing a different type of currency with your child. And he said, really? I said, the same way you would rap for somebody, you have figured out certain positions, certain leverages that you're going to put in a conversation, in a song or a rap that brings or elicits specific types of emotions or reactions. He said, yes. And I said, these are the things that make rap so special within our community, because we have an ability to take an emotional idea and make it mainstream, whereby one, people can feel your pain, they can feel your frustration, but they can feel your victory. That overall, when you start thinking about it, particularly African Americans, we are heavy in the idea of narrative. When I say narrative, I mean thematic narrative. Other people do have narratives, how they come to the country, but the thematic narrative is something that you don't want to overlook, because it's just a very, very powerful tool for how you do business. For myself, people go, hey, you're a comedian. No, I'm an entrepreneur. When I say I'm an entrepreneur, it means that I have to converse with people in a way to get things done. Case in point, in COVID, I had to make a thematic shift from doing stand-up in front of live audiences, things like that, to speaking to people virtually and speaking to people within the context of emails and speaking to people within the context of pitches and having them gravitate to an idea, being able to help them visualize what they needed in terms of their business. Today, I want to talk about that. Sister Satana is on the show today. She was a vital part in something that we talked with. We had a writing program. Most funny Muslims, right? I can't even remember the program. It's just we have so many themes. But it was a writing program and a comedy writing program. And what I told the students was, I would be cheating you if I just told you how to write jokes. I'm teaching you how to write revenue. And in writing that revenue, they began to understand that the context just on comedy writing has so many attributes. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that and where I come from in terms of writing. Most people think I would pick up a pen and I tell jokes. That would be a lie. I would be misleading you. That would be a start for the law. What you really need to know is that I have a journalism background. And for all of the pains and controversies and all of the bad thoughts and bad words I said through that whole process to some of my teachers who were great teachers, they taught us how to write for situations. Not just situations, brothers, not just situations, but different mediums. So when I'm talking about different mediums, they're talking about different thematic expressions. So today here on the ShOUT Show, we're going to talk about thematic expressions. I'm going to talk to you about how to write within context. And I'm also going to talk to you about how to write in terms of a long tail, where you can have a relationship with people in conversation, on paper, off paper, that lends itself to, I want to say, generational income, if you will. Stay tuned. This is Preacher Moss talking about generating cash with your conversation. We'll be right back. Assalamu alaikum. And we are back on the SOS. Before I get started with today's topic, I want to make sure we welcome our SOS family into the stream. Starting out, of course, with Sister Reed. What's going on, Sister Reed? Shout out to you and your family. I hope Grandma appreciated your visit down to Alabama. And I know she's having some issues, but she's going to remember a lot of things. And she's going to remember her grandbaby loved her and came to see her. All right. Shout out to you and your family, Brother Derek, as well as my main man, Juan. Next up, this is Mama Son. What's going on, Mary Moss? Saying have a great day, SOS family. I want to shout out to you, Mom. You did a great job doing the documentary. You, Aunt Maxine, Miss Eleanor. Shout out to Ali and his crew, Oksana and Jonathan. They came in, they taped. Hopefully soon I'm going to have something in the way of a trailer to show you guys. But also shout out to Sister Dr. Nisa Muhammad, who got us a spot at Howard University School of Sociology Auditorium. I mean, everything just flowed. And shout out to those students, Brother Michael and Sister Haifa, who was amazing in the interview process. All right, next up, my main man, Altaf Rashid. What's going on, Brother Altaf? I hope you're doing well. Wa alaikum assalam, rahmatullahi barakatuh. Mr. 6 o'clock, straight up, straight down, our Canadian ambassador to the show. I want to say our special envoy to the shout out show. We've been saying ambassador. We're going to make you a special envoy. How you doing, brother? Thank you so much for tuning in. Let us know what's cracking up there in Toronto. All right. Yes, Sister Ika tuning in all the way from Depok, Indonesia. Hope that you're doing well. Your family's well. And thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you. Thank you very much. Shout out to my main man, Brother Bilal Salahuddin and his queen, Sister Sonia Salahuddin Dalton, tune in on the show religiously. They made it a cooking show yesterday. I don't know what you cooked over there, brother, but Sister Sonia was like, Bilal, let's cooking. We appreciate you tuning in as always, brother. And I did get your note. Next time we make that push out here in terms of the Texas prison system, taking some joy to these brothers, I will give you a call, inshallah, and we will get you on the list. And you can talk to these brothers too. I make them laugh as much as I can, but it's just the overall idea that we're going to be able to have a conversation and fellowship. All right. So much shout out to you. And of course, our proprietor, the owner of BeFinanciallyIndependent.com, Miss Maxine K. She said, what a topic, generating cash with your conversation, along with the explanation of the power of words. Keep on preaching, Mars. We're very proud of you. I appreciate it. So let me get to where this starts. And before we do, yes, we have to. Now, I got to acknowledge also a young Mariam Moss who turned 15 years old today. Getting old, girl. She don't want to hang out with her daddy no more, but it's all right. I don't want to hang out with you either. I don't have no 15-year-old friends. I ain't got no 15-year-old roommates. You'll come home and find your shoes out in the back of the garage, and I keep messing with them. Okay. So we want to make sure we give a shout out to Sister Satana. Sister Satana should have bought her pictures from Fajr at the beach, which they do annually. Sister Satana, I look around, I see what's going on. She did Fajr at the beach. Let me show you Sister Satana's one of her pictures at the beach. Y'all ready? Here we go. All right, there you go. That's a picture. Let me give it to you again. I'm a funny guy. That's Facebook will tell on you. Facebook will tell on you. Shout out to my little brother, Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. What's going on, JT, man? Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you're doing well. And my nephews, my nephews, I hope that they're doing well, all three of them. And make sure that those grandberries don't wear you out, boy. When we were in Milwaukee, man, you looking tired. I know I was tired, but you were looking tired. Them babies wore you out. But thank you so much for tuning in on the show. Much love. Okay, so this whole idea of generating cash with conversation, it's going to require some rewiring. It's going to require some rewiring in terms of the basis of education. Well, not just basic education, but also the basis of communication. When you communicate, brothers and sisters, it's this idea that you educate, that you are telling somebody something, giving them some kind of information. The thing that you're overlooking is you're giving them something to educate. In the flow of, we did funny right now. Was that right? No, wait a minute. I got Sister Tana gave me the. Yeah, we did funny right now as a writing program. The thing about funny right now, if I can say so myself, is this: it wasn't meant to be just a comedy writing program. Here's what I mean. It was meant to teach people to think comprehensively about what's in an environment. Like if you were to walk in a room and somebody said, in this room, tell me if you could turn this room into a store, what would you do? Well, most people are going to tell you about the items and da da da, but that's one thing. You're going to, in the idea of generating cash for conversations, what you do is you start talking about items that would draw people in, not the items that you necessarily like, which leads me to our next point. Rewiring conversation. We have this all the time because people like to hear themselves talk, like to hear themselves sound smart, like to hear themselves sound brilliant, but you don't oftentimes generate revenue off that type of conversation. Here's why. Because it's all about you. If it's all about you, then what's missing is the fact that you don't have a theme that people can attach to when they walk away. All great storytelling begins with an opening scene. I'm in the process of revamping some of my writing stuff. I ran across an old treatment of mine called Alien Sub Teacher. And what I loved about Alien Sub Teacher is it was heavily thematic, talking about young aliens, young black people, or young inner city people trying to connect with a sub teacher who's from another planet, blah, 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 blah. You can fill in the blanks. But the thing is, we kept it heavily thematic. We talked about the theme of education. We talked about the theme of trust. We talked about the thing of rebuilding trust in education. And we talked about the aspect of technology. This joint was written back in 1997, brothers and sisters. So I'm just revamping it. To everybody watching, this is what you need to learn about generating cash with your conversation. If you don't have a theme at the top of your conversation, you're not going to generate cash. If you don't have an opening mantra for what you're going to say to somebody when you see them, you're not going to generate cash. If you were going to a business meeting to pitch, copiers, you're going to pitch copying machines. If you don't have the opening remark to get into a conversation about copying machines, you won't sell a machine. It's the same thing here. If you don't have thematic awareness of what you're going to talk to, the triggers that will make that person think this way or think that way or back up or pull into a conversation, then it doesn't work. The problem with comedy today is while we have great titles for comedy shows, very, very few comedians can follow the line of a theme. Now, when I started doing stand-up, there were people who wrote in concept boxes. I was one of them. One other thing about a concept box is that you can take it everywhere, that you can flip it and you can turn it. You can actually have a concept box in a concept box whereby communications and ideas connect. We don't do that now. We become extremely lazy in believing that everybody we walk up to is going to somehow fall in love with our pitch or our theme or our concept, which means that oftentimes you only come up with one. The truth is you have to have multiple themes, brothers and sisters, multiple. So if Satana is late coming to the ShOUT show because she had a flat tire. The theme is not Satana having a flat tire getting into the show. The theme is Satana's willingness and what she's willing to do to get to the show that gives us the interest. I have to take a flight to see my mom. Why? My mom is sick. Well, it's not that my mom is sick. That's a boring thing. Because you can say, hey, there are people who can go see your mom. It is the journey I'm willing to do to make sure I get to her and make sure that she's all right. In conversation, here's the problem. People don't understand the value of listening more and talking less. Listening more and talking less. That is the currency now. Unfortunately, in the current climate, everybody's trying to talk over one another. Everyone is trying to talk over one another. You can't even get ideas to the marketplace because you got to go through 300 or 400 or 500 bad conversations just to get yours heard, if it gets heard at all. Well, you say, preach, well, how do I get my conversation to the marketplace? Easy. Great themes demand attention. And when you have a great theme, you can create your own marketplace. Hence, all that made me funny. Hence, into racism. A lot of you don't even know I did one-man shows as a warm-up for many years to keep my stand-up fresh. There was content and character. There was the essence of being human. And then there was one called, I never thought about taking a job. I never thought about dying till I took a job teaching. So what does that mean? It means constantly you are all in these spaces. And I forgive me that when I started talking about the comedy writing thing, I kind of forgot the name. Why? Because I'm always in a space doing concepts. And here's the thing. Get into that practice. I'm going to emphasize all of us get into that practice of staying in our thematic lanes and creating new thematic lanes. So if today was about trying to get to the grocery store to buy something, to put food on the table, book it. But tomorrow needs to be about, okay, maybe about how I have to come to this idea of what kind of food I'm going to get and be inclusive of the fact that there's prices out there that I have to deal with. Prices, crisis. You've heard me always talk about, we talked about earlier about the value of zero, if you will, which was the fact that as many of us, minority Black folk in particular, people of color, we're talking about the price of things, but not the value. Here's the winner. When you have a theme, you have the highest quotient of value that you can actually have in a conversation. I'm not lying. You can walk into a group of people that you don't know, and I do it all the time, listen to the theme, offer a better theme, and now you're driving the conversation. Sound familiar? I've walked into people's offices, and I do it more and more now. I walk into people's offices, I look at the theme of their office and how they do business from top to bottom, and I find that one little yarn that I could pull out, and people believe I got to fix that yarn, and they pay you for not pulling out the yarn, for showing them how to stitch something and make it better and have it reinforced and stronger. This is the business. Stop giving away your conversations. I mean this. Stop giving away your conversations. All right, so we're going to be back so we can wrap up. Thank you guys for hanging. Apologies, I know this piece went pretty quickly, but we're going to be right back. Stay tuned. Hey, babies. Welcome to Radio WCUC, Convenient Urgent Care, home of the smart patient. This is DJ What It Do. You know what time it is. It's the top of the hour, and the request lines are open. You know what you want to hear. I know what you want to hear. Operators are waiting.
I just got to hear don't get the COVID.
Don't get the COVID. Put your mask back on. The Delta COVID, more contagious than before. Don't get the COVID. Go on and get the vaccine. You know that it can keep you safe. And your people living up in your space. Don't get the COVID, you need to wash your hands. The Delta COVID is more deadly than before. Don't get the COVID, go on and get your vaccine. You know that it can keep you from dying. Don't leave your family all alone and crying. Don't get the COVID.
We invite you to join our fight against COVID and against misinformation. It's time to listen to the doctors and trust the science.
When I think of people dying that don't have to die, it makes me sad. Now's the time to be sober. Together we can make this thing over. Let's fight the COVID. Convenient urgent care, home of the smart patient.
All right. Shout out to Convenience Urgent Care, a prime example of generating cash with your conversation. Shout out to Brother Eric Wildlake Masalado for Tula Barakatu, brother. I was on a roll. I did see you there, but I want to make sure I acknowledge you. Thank you so much for coming on the show. So let's get back to our topic. Just like you just watched Don't Get the COVID, it speaks to a theme. One, it's a business theme. That separated the fact that one, we're talking about a pandemic issue, and the other we're talking about a company that's dealing with a pandemic issue. And it would be easy to say, hey, go to Convenient Urgent Care, but it ruins the theme. The theme is people have to want to be healthy. And so the idea about health, good health requires, hear me now, it requires an upbeat mentality. Not that you're sick, but that you don't want to be sick. Home of the Smart Patients indicates the fact that we want to do things that are preventive to keep us from scenarios where we would get ill or our loved ones would get ill. Plain concept. So here's what I'm saying. Everyone here else can do that, but you have to have a fundamental shift on your mental psyche, understanding that you have to look at people in conversations, and this is very, very important because it took me years to do this. And it happened to me when I was really young, so I had to balance it out as I got older. When you are talking to people, listen to their conversations, hear their conversations, see their conversations in the context of pictures. In the context of pictures. A storyboard, if you will. Oftentimes in business and consulting, people don't like to say this, but in consulting, we listen to people's problems and we listen to them work their problems out, but they're so busy talking, they're not listening to themselves. You're paying me to listen. I have a theme about what it is that's the problem. And what I do is a lot of times I say, hey, give me 3 weeks to come up with something. I'll get back. I don't really need 3 weeks. That's just the standard in the business because you don't want to turn around the next day. Here's your problem because people are going to think that it doesn't have the same amount of value. Like you have to value my problem like I value my problem. It has to be complex. No, it doesn't have to be complex. But we do that as part of the marketing tool, if you will. And we come back 3 weeks later and we come up with a whole slew of recommendations and resolutions. But if you get into the space, like I said, funny right now with my students, in that you are seeing things in terms of pictures. For me, it's music and it's pictures. I can turn down and do this sometime. The next time that you have opportunity to look at television, choose a movie or a sitcom. Choose a newscast. Turn the newscast off. Turn the newscast on, and then turn off the volume. And flip around the channel and understand whose themes are really the strongest because you'll be able to understand them without the sound. You'll be understand that you can look at a picture and the picture is so strong thematically that you're able to pick it up. And we call these things context clues, if you will. You know, being able to embed context clues for people to have these breadcrumbs and they can put them together. And at the end, they go, I have a whole loaf of bread with all these breadcrumbs. No, you just got a lot of breadcrumbs. But psychologically, they're thinking I got a loaf. Fine. My point is talk less, listen more. Look and feel in terms of pictures. I guarantee you this will help in your conversations, will help you generate money. Why? Because the world, the business world, the real world doesn't buy, they buy concepts. And if you become conceptual and thematically how you're addressing things, how you're doing business, I tell people all the time in business, oh, if I had this, I did. What is the idea? Because if you have a great idea, you can go out and get money. If you have a great idea, you can go out and pitch to go out and get money. That's why they have angel investors and things like that. And I'm not lying to you, but what it is that people miss is the story can't be about what you're going to do. The story has to be about the possibilities, the inclusiveness that this whole idea I'm talking about is such a level of greatness. You want to be involved in it. And people, without a doubt, are willing to pay for that. They're willing to pay. People have money all the time. And I'm going to say this and try and be, people got a lot of money, but they don't have a lot of good ideas. Good ideas, great ideas, they're hard to find now. And the reason I'm saying that is because everybody bites off of everybody else's ideas. So when you get something that's organic or a lot of times it's going to stay organic and people aren't going to know about it because it has to deal with all the other copycat stuff. But I'm telling you right now, a premise where you can begin to develop things that are organic. Your business, your philosophy, how you teach. Think about this. We're doing the ShOUT show, but the ShOUT show is heavily thematic. There's something to it whereby the story, hear me now, the story has lasted longer than the actual show. That there's a context, an opening remark or opening scene for the ShOUT show before we ever put it on the air. And whenever Allah says to take it off the air, it'll be the same thing. And that is your business tale. It was the same for Allah Made Me Funny. I made sure that Allah Made Me Funny had a strong thematic thing at the beginning, which is the fact that we were trying to put smiles on the faces of Muslims during a very, very intense and difficult time following 9/11. But that wasn't enough. The other theme was we had to get Muslims into a practice, hear me now, where thematically they self-validated. They didn't wait for people to validate them that you're okay. Antithetical to what you see. Hey, look at me. I want you to say I'm okay. No, I know I'm okay. Thus, I don't need you. And it created its own lane. I'm not the first to do this. If you look at some of the speeches of Frederick Douglass, he's a heavily thematic speaker. And in that space, he creates this whole idea of what abolition or the abolitionists should look like. It wasn't white people. He creates a language where you have not an underground railroad, you have underground communities that thematically believe that Black people should be free. Am I doing anything new? No. I try to be a student for all the stuff that's coming down the pipe. So I'm going to encourage everybody. Start thinking in terms of pictures. Everybody, you know what? When you go to fine art museums, you don't see pictures of conversations. You see pictures of pictures. Why do you think that is? Because people look at a theme and they gravitate to the theme. They don't really gravitate to conversations. So listen, start out just on this one. Maybe we have to do another show, but just on this one. Conversations that you're having, practice it with your loved ones, but have an opening statement that you're going to have that has a thematic string to it that you can run through a conversation for 3 or 4 minutes. I guarantee if you can do that, you can start generating revenue for yourself. Why? Because when you get into that space, thematically in business, you'll find out a lot of people don't think that way. They've been waiting for you. They have checkbooks. Trust me. I've walked into people's office and looked around and thematically said, hey, this place looks horrible. You need to get organized. You know what they said? You're right. Can you help? And they pay. I turn other people on to work. Why? Because thematically, I got to stay fresh. I have to tell someone, hey, call so and so, because I'm saying thematically, I think they're better than I am in that space. And you want to make sure that you're creating communities. So here on the Shout Out Show, I had to get out of here. We're at the 30-minute mark. I just want everybody to start just thematically. Think about your open statement. Start thinking and looking and speaking thematically, and also turn down that volume. Turn down the volume and start looking and thinking of pictures. All right. That's the Shout Out Show, everybody. I want to give a shout out to, of course, our sponsors, BeFinanciallyIndependent.com, UsHub.tv, Bayan Islamic Graduate School, of course, Islamic Relief USA, and of course, I want to give a shout out to Convenient Urgent Care. I know I just shout all of those out, but don't worry about it. I will do this a little bit earlier. I'll do it better tomorrow. I'm thinking thematically. All right, that's our show. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Remember, generate cash with your conversation. I'm Preacher Moss. Take care. Bye-bye.